Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And I got one for you straight out of New Orleans, Louisiana. For those who may not have known, this is a story about another inept city jail. There's been a lot of problems with city and county jails throughout our country. Historically, jails like Cook County and Chicago have been notorious for problems, for delayed trials, for people staying in jail for innumerable amounts of time, assaults, of course, homicides, robberies inside the jail, drug usage, of course, deaths that are taking place. LA County the same way, gang violence, Chicago, gang violence. Here in St. Louis, there's been innumerable amounts of issues with violence against inmates, unexplained deaths. There's been at least 10 or 12 people that have died in the St. Louis City Jail in the last couple of years. Fulton County Jail has had innumerable amounts of unexplained homicides in their jail system. So what is happening with our public safety in our jail systems throughout the country? And so now you have a situation in New Orleans where this same scenario has taken place. But this time you had 10 people escape from a city jail a week ago or two. And what in the world is going on with our infrastructure, with our jail and prison system? It is falling apart. And this all aligns with the real issues in the health and welfare of our public safety, whether you're on the street or you're being incarcerated. We're still human beings, and safety is still an issue. Just think if you go to jail for a traffic ticket and you get locked up for a day, and there's chaos and disruption everywhere within the jail system, and you could end up being assaulted and or killed over being incarcerated for a day or two for a traffic ticket. Who wants that? So let's see what happened let's see what happened to this scenario where not one inmate escaped, but 10 escaped. And how did that happen in New Orleans? So here you go. Search continues for 6 of 10 men who escaped from New Orleans jail. Reward for information increases. What happened? Days after 10 men escaped from a New Orleans jail by slipping through a hole behind a toilet and scaling a wall, 6 of them remain on the run Monday. Up to $20,000 in rewards was being offered for information, leading to the capture of each escapee. Please listen to this story carefully. Any of us could get arrested. Our jail system is failing, and definitely our prison system is failing. The inhumane conditions that are taking place are innumerable, and is causing a health and safety risk, not only for the inmates, but also for the correctional officers, the sheriff's staff, the people that work there. So getting back to the story, the FBI on Sunday increased its reward amount from $5,000 to $10,000 per escapee, while the Crime Stoppers reward was increased from $2,000 to $5,000, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives was offering $5,000 for a reward. The latest arrest came late Monday when a 4th fugitive, Gary Price, was taken into custody. FBI Special Agent Jonathan Trapp said during a news conference that he believes members of the public may be helping them, and if that's the case, would be arrested on charges of aiding and abetting them, and or abetting them. The men range in age from 19 to 42 and face a variety of charges. These are the escapees. They face a variety of charges from aggravated assault, domestic abuse battery, and murder. While 3 of the men were quickly caught and a 4th later, a multi-agency task force has been assembled to scour the region for the remaining fugitives. What are the jail officials saying? Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hudson said the men were able to get out of the Orleans Justice Center because of defective locks and possibly with the help from people inside her department. It's almost impossible, not completely, but almost impossible for anybody to get out of this facility without help, she said Friday of the jail where 1,400 people are being held. 1,400. Just days before the escape, Hudson's office had asked for money to fix faulty locks and cell doors. So they already know that the facility is in disarray and it's not working. And you got to remember, this is not an old jail. Follow the story. I'm going to tell you when the jail was put together, was built. During the city's capital improvement plan hearing on May 12th, Jaworski J. Mallett, chief of corrections for the Orleans Justice Center, said the current system at the jail was built for a minimum custody type of inmate, not for people to be there for a very long time or for serious crimes. Mallett went on to say that some of the cell unit doors and locks have been manipulated to the point that not only are they not secure, but some can't even be closed properly. So that makes an issue and for the health and welfare and safety of the correctional officers, and the nurses, and the staff that work there. These inmates are going back to their cells with unlocked cells. But he classified many at the jail as high security. Remember, this was for minimum. This place was built for minimum custody type of inmate. But it goes on to say that he classified many at the jail. Many of the inmates at the jail were not the type of minimum custody inmate. They were high security inmates who were awaiting trials for violent offenses, including charges such as murder, assault, and R. So the facility was not even for serious crimes. They have 1,400 people with varying crimes from level 1 to level 5, and that's what the place was not built for. Surveillance footage shared with media during a news conference showed the escapees sprinting out of the facility, some wearing orange clothing and others in white. They scaled a fence using blankets to protect themselves from barbed wire, and some sprinted across the interstate and into neighborhoods. A law enforcement photographer obtained by the Associated Press shows the opening through which the men escaped. Above the hole are scrawled messages that include "Too easy, LOL." So the inmates even wrote on the wall above the hole that they escaped through that this was too easy, LOL, laugh out loud, with an arrow pointing at the gap. Friday's escape is drawing intense scrutiny and criticism. It took hours for sheriff's officials to realize the men had escaped, and then more time still to alert New Orleans police. Listen how long it took for the police to find out that these 10 people were gone. Even though some of the missing men are accused of violent offenses, and they escaped into neighborhoods less than 2 miles from the city's famous French Quarters. Someone clearly dropped the ball, and there's no excuse for this, Louisiana Attorney General Liz Muriel said on X. Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams, who said he prosecuted one of the people who escaped, told New Orleans news station WWL-TV he was angry at this situation. He said, "This is absurd. I don't understand how it is feasible that it could have occurred." Then, so the next question is, why did it take hours to learn about the escape? So now this is a miscommunication between public safety in and of itself. So not only are the jail systems failing, cells that can't be locked, understaffing, underpaid correctional officers, understaffed, underpaid sheriff's department. What is the role of the sheriff's department? The sheriff's department are supposed to be in charge of escorting inmates to and from court. They're supposed to be securing and protecting the courtrooms. Correctional officers are there to police inmates in jail and or in prison. And of course, the police are the overseers and the individuals policing our cities. So why did it take so long for the police to find out? The escapees yanked open a door to enter the escapees yanked open a door to enter the cell with the hole around 12:30 a.m. By 1:30 a.m., they were outside the jail, according to the sheriff's office. But it was not until a routine morning head count, more than 7 hours later, that law enforcement learned they were missing. 7 hours later. So there is an internal breakdown between what's going on at the jail with the public safety individuals, correctional officers, the individuals that work there, supervisors, everyone, and then the outside forces for the police department to know that these people have escaped, and they didn't know it for 7 hours. You could those escapees could catch a bus or a plane and be out of the country or in another state within 7 hours. But it was not until a routine head count, some 7 hours later, that law enforcement learned they were missing. Officials from the sheriff's office say no deputy was at the pod where the fugitives had been held. There was a civilian employee there, but she had stepped away to get food, they said. So there was nobody overseeing them during this time, even on surveillance video. There appeared to be further delay before New Orleans police were notified. You've given a head start to some very dangerous people, Attorney Williams told WWL-TV on Friday. Soon after the escape, one of the men, Kendall Myers, who was 20 years old, was apprehended in the French Quarter after a brief foot chase. Thank God they caught him. 3 sheriff's employees have been placed on suspension pending the outcome of the investigation. It was not immediately clear whether any of the employees were suspected of helping the escapees. I'm sure this was somewhat of an inside job. How does 10 people get away? It's hard enough for 1 or 2 jail inmates to escape. 10. Officials also didn't say if the employee who left to get food was among the 3 suspended. So who are the men that escaped? Most of the men are in their 20s. Miles and the other 2 men who were earlier captured, Robert Moody, 21, and DeKinnon Dennis, 24, were taken by helicopter to a state correctional facility outside the New Orleans area, Louisiana State Police said Saturday. The agency said one of the men became hostile during the transfer, requiring troopers to use a spit hood. They did not identify that man. Dennis had been charged with armed robbery with a firearm and illegal carrying of a weapon during a crime of violence, according to Murrell, the Attorney General. Moody was facing a weapons charge as well as charges of attempted second-degree battery and obstruction. Murrell said both men will face additional charges stemming from the escape. One of the fugitives, Derek Groves, was convicted on 2 charges of second-degree murder and 2 charges of attempted second-degree murder last year for his role in the 2018 Mardi Gras Day shooting of 2 men. Another escapee, Corey Boyd, had pleaded not guilty to a pending second-degree murder charge. So you have multiple individuals with murder charges that escaped. And you got one guy, Derek Groves, who attempted to kill at least 2 individuals at a 2018 Mardi Gras Day parade and party, just in clear daylight. If anybody needs to be locked up and thrown in jail, it's this guy, Derek Groves, and he escaped. So they saying the jail has had some problems. The Justice Center opened in 2015. That's just 10 years ago. This is not a jail that's 40 or 50 years ago. How do you already have locks on the cells that don't work? That is a health hazard for other inmates, and let alone the people that work there, making it a relatively new facility. But it still has experienced violence and security problems. Duh, that's what I'm saying. Hudson said the facility is around 60% staffed, so the staff is stretched thin. So we're talking about a staff that's underserved, undervalued, underappreciated, and underpaid. What is happening to our public safety? We're understaffed with police. That's on the inside of a jail. On the outside, we're understaffed with police officers. Mind you, everybody going with Black Lives Matter wants to defund the police. That makes no sense. The police department, the correctional officers, the sheriff's department is being defunded on its own. Nobody wants to be a police officer, a correctional officer, or a sheriff. They're underpaid and unappreciated like teachers and nurses. The jail contained numerous high security people convicted of violent offenses who require a restrictive housing environment that did not exist, said Jay Mallett, Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office Chief of Corrections. The Sheriff's Office was in the process of transferring dozens to more secure locations. This jail was not designed for high security inmates. It's only been in existence 10 years. Hudson is facing re-election this year, and at least one of her opponents, former interim New Orleans Police Superintendent Michelle Woodfork, demanded she answer questions about the escape. Williams, the district attorney, appointed Woodfork to a position in his office last year. Noting the sheriff's race was starting, Hudson called the timing of the escape suspicious. She did not elaborate. This is a very disturbing story. And as you all know, back on New Year's Eve, there was that scenario of they considered it to be a terrorist attack when that one individual, that one man drove into a parade of people during New Year's Eve, ran over several folks, and then got out of his truck and started shooting people. I think two officers got injured, and he ended up dying. That happened New Year's Eve of this year, right before the Super Bowl, and there was chaos and disruption in New Orleans then. What is happening in New Orleans? And now you have this scenario where 10 individuals escaped. 10. How does that happen? It's hard for one person to escape, let alone two. How do you get 10 to escape? What is going on in New Orleans? You're talking about a tourist city like Las Vegas, very transient. This is going to kill the tourism business, let alone the people that live there. All of these individuals had pending cases, many of them because of committing violent, harmful acts. What does that say for the victims of those crimes, where they would be worried about retaliation after these individuals have escaped? Could something happen to them? You got several individuals that had cases pending for attempted murder. So this is insane. But also, here again, underpaid, undervalued. The Louisiana governor a year ago called for a state of emergency, saying that he needed several thousand people to join the police force in the state of Louisiana. So public safety is a real issue. This same issue is taking place in St. Louis, Missouri, where cells are not being able to lock. Inmates are taking over the jail, the city jail in St. Louis. There's been at least a dozen mysterious deaths, 3 or 4 in the last 6 months in the city jail in St. Louis. There's been a huge debacle with the previous sheriff who just lost a race, and then the new sheriff, Montgomery, here in St. Louis. There was a riot in the city jail in St. Louis within the last year or two, where there was fire. They even subdued an elderly correctional officer. had him held hostage. Thankfully, they did not kill him. And the police force and the sheriff's department were able to recover him. But what is going on with our city jails? When you're talking about the moral and ethical fabric and the health status of our society, if there is a moniker, if your city jails and your prisons are unsafe, that generally filters out into your own city, and there's a certain harbinger of unsafety or safety concerns in your own city. So you have places like St. Louis and Chicago, LA, where there is a lot of gun violence, there are a lot of assaults, there are a lot of robberies, there are a lot of property damage in our cities. We got an understaffing of police force. Then you trickles into the jails and the prison systems. The jails is a waiting pool to see whether a person is going to end up going to prison. It's not a stay forever kind of situation. And you're having disruption and chaos in our city jails. The same staffing issues that we're having with our police force, our police department, our public safety in our cities and our states, we're having it inside our city jails. And there's crime, desecration, and destruction taking place in both places. Where are we going to be safe? Defunding the police or defunding our public safety departments is definitely not the answer. So here in New Orleans, understaffed correctional officers, understaffed, underpaid sheriff's department, understaffed, underappreciated, underpaid police departments. They need more police officers, more correctional officers, more sheriffs, and the pool of picking those individuals, we got to make sure that we're picking the right people. This clearly has to be an inside job. How in the world does 10 inmates that have pending cases, including murder, assaults, and all kinds of heinous crimes, just walk out of a city jail that's only been in existence for 10 years? There is a real awakening, and we need to look in the mirror. Public safety, the opioid crisis, homelessness should be top priorities for every major city in America. And just when you think you live in the suburbs or live in a city that's crime is low, this kind of situation will filter out to your community and your zip code just when you take a blink of an eye or turn the other way. It will get crime, gun violence, the opioid crisis, homelessness is not just curtailed to our cities. It is filtering out throughout our entire country, and we need to have a wake-up call and do something about it. This situation in New Orleans is a very disturbing and distracting scenario. And how does 10 inmates break out of a jail at 12:30 a.m. and are gone within 1 hour, and it took 7 hours for the city police to even know anything about it? That entire system needs to be looked at down in New Orleans, but there are many cities that are going through the same thing. St. Louis has had its issues. Even if you're an inmate, you have to worry about being assaulted. You might be in there for a minor crime, and you're mixed in with people that are charged with murder. And if there's an altercation that takes place, you might be in there for child support or for multiple tickets, and then you end up getting stabbed and killed by some mentally ill individual who is being held for murder. I don't call that justice whatsoever. It's happening in many of our cities. Fulton County Jail, St. Louis City, Cook County in Chicago. There needs to be a wake-up call. But this whole precipice and this vitriol of violence that is taking place, and not having the appropriate employees that respect their jobs, that are being paid well, the pool of great employees is diminishing each and every day, which has everything to do with our educational system too. We have a lot of problems that are leading to disastrous results that are tearing down our moral and ethical fabric as a society. Tell me what you think about this out of New Orleans. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience.